Perfect. We'll just wait a little bit for some people to join.
Hello, everyone. Ooh, looks like we got a few people joining too.
Perfect. Let's get started. Well, good evening, everyone. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we live and work and the Wurundjeri people, and pay respects to elders past and present. My name is Lachlan Bond, Senior Program Advisor from Melbourne Business School Online. At Melbourne Business School Online, we put your career progression at the heart of everything we do. We work closely with industry leaders to design short courses. These courses will give you the skills and confidence to deliver greater impact at your workplace. They help take your career to another level and elevate your skills. They also help you gain acknowledgement as a professional who adds value in a fast-changing world. Welcome, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to invest in yourself, your education. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature only, and our team will respond to you, or if we have time at the end, our expert will address your questions at the end. We have an exciting and informative session tonight with our product management expert, David Wang. David is a product leader with over 15 years of experience in APAC and the US markets. He currently leads the core product team at Linktree to build experiences for over 35 million users worldwide. David was also the head of product at Society One, product manager for Airtasker, senior product manager for Qantas Ventures, Combank, Westfield, Vodafone Global, and Expedia. Welcome, David. We're so excited to have you here tonight to present. Let's get started.
Thanks, Lockie, and apologies for all the job titles and all these things. Yeah, I've been around the block for a while, even though I don't have the scars to show it. I've been doing this for a long time. And thank you, MBS Online, for the opportunity to actually share what I've learned over the years with you guys, with the audience here. This is a snippet of what you should expect on some of the courses that we have from MBS Online. And this is an extract from two modules that we have in the product course about finding profitable and commercializable products, and also validating some of the market opportunities for the product that you're creating. So I'm Dave. I'll be talking about these things with you today. So this is the talk. So developing products that create commercial impact. This is especially relevant nowadays, now that we are actually heading into a sort of like a tech recession, that commercialization is actually a key focus right now. So this is a very good topic for any product managers that is either in the job market or looking for the next opportunity to move other companies, or just to generally upskill yourself. So very relevant for this time. Agenda for today, we'll be talking about 4 points. Even though there's 4 points look small, there is a lot to pack in. So get your highlighters, get your pen, write down some notes, and we'll do some Q&A at the end as well. So we'll be talking about how do you drive business growth by creating irresistible products. We'll be talking about how do you find profitable products in the market, and why it's important to find profitable products. And then we'll be talking about how you validate products as well as we go through the journey. Cool. All right. Without further ado, let's get to it. Let's start with the first thing, the mindset first. This is really around, why is it important to find irresistible products that to build? And let's come back into this first question, which is like, what is a product in the first place? Well, a product is actually, a solution to solve a need or a problem. And we highlighted the need and problem in red because this is a very important point throughout this whole presentation. You got to find that tangible need or intangible need for your customer, and also this thing I call the heartfelt problem for your customer. A great product doesn't just solve the needs from a solution perspective and a functional perspective. You must also find the heartfelt problem for your customer, the emotional need for that customer. And how I found out and how I came across this this philosophy of product and this theory of product is when I was working at Vodafone back in the days when phones had SIM cards, big SIM cards. I got a chance to work in China and build a little SIM card package, a prepaid package for people that's in China. And they were moving overseas into other countries, like Australia is one of them, but we also work with like people in the UK, in Italy, in Germany, and a bunch of other places as well. So we were there selling our SIM cards at the airport. And then we realized, well, as we put our stand, there was actually 5 other stands that is selling the same SIM card as us. Like, before you go overseas, go grab a SIM card. I'm sure you guys see this in the airport. So quickly we know that, hey, like this is a red ocean. Like this is like competing with everyone else. And we're just saying like who has the lowest price. And it's not great. So we took a step back and we think about like, what problems are we actually solving for the customer? So this is where we start to apply this problem thinking, like great product must solve a need and problem. So we spoke to a few customers and we realized that people are buying this SIM cards because they have a lot of people that are migrating overseas. And one of the key things from immigration is actually to study abroad from China. So we followed the breadcrumbs and we actually spoke to a few students that bought these SIM cards before they go overseas. So we'll ask them like, why do you do this? They're like, oh, well, I didn't buy it. The money came from my parents. My mom and dad paid for these SIM cards. So we're like, okay, cool. Well, let's talk to the parents, right, that actually bought the SIM cards. We'll ask them like, why do you buy this SIM card for your kids? They're like, well, because, like when they're overseas, this SIM card is actually not just a SIM card, but it's actually my link to them. So, if anything happens, they can always call back home and make sure that we can help them out as well. And same thing the other way around. We can call them anytime if we actually miss them or if we want to talk to our child overseas. And so this comes back to that emotional problem. So we found this heartfelt problem is actually a connection to safety. So what we did is we built this feature out of all the SIM cards, you can still call, you can use data, and etc. But we actually built this feature that allows you to nominate one phone number, and you can actually call that phone number unlimited anytime that you want. And that's usually the parent's phone number. And this is the feature that actually drove the sale of the SIM card. And we actually overtook everyone at the airport. Everyone's looking at us. They were lining up at our stores and not lining up in their stores. And everyone's wondering why that is. And that's because we found that heartfelt problem for our users. And we built a feature to solve that heartfelt problem. And that's what great product is there for. They must solve a need, a functional need, but also an emotional need as well. And why am I telling you guys this story and why is this important to build profitable products? Well, because profitable products, it's really solving an emotional need. You want to actually solve a problem for a user, and people would actually, buy you for the intangible benefits that you create for your customers. And this is the role of a product manager within a company. Their job is to first off understand, sort of like, create valuable products that is solving a core problem for your customer, and they do that using product strategy and vision. So that's the first job of a product manager, and they do a lot of strategy work. They do market research, they do customer research, they do competitor research, and they create a vision and a strategy for the product. The second thing that a product manager do within a company is they actually lead a team. They don't just come up with ideas, they also work with a team to deliver the product as well. And depending on what type of organization you're in, if you're in a startup or scale up or tech company, you generally will have like a team assigned to you. Our team of developers and designers work with you to build the product. If you work in a corporate where you have to like come up with a business case and pitch for ideas and go through the whole project route, that's another way. And you still got to lead the team once you actually got approval for your project. And look, we're not here to talk about which is better. It's just describing how a product manager works in these different types of organization. You need to lead a team, come up with a strategy and a vision for your product. And that's not all. You need to actually build a realistic plan to hit those goals. And that's why oftentimes product managers get confused with the project manager role, because project management, it's one function within a product role. You got to build the plans to get there, set up goals, set up milestones, set up those Gantt charts that you see. That's one part of what they do, but it's not the only part. So the other part is leading the team and also coming up with the vision and proposition. The fourth thing that a product manager does at a company is they continuously solve problems. So just because they launch a product, it doesn't end there. And that's the biggest difference in mindset between project and product. Product actually solves a problem continuously, while project is funded by milestones. And once it's been launched, then it's launched. And generally, that's the end. And you've got to find another funding. But for product, is continuously iterating on your product, and you're going to grow your product to become profitable. And the last thing that a product manager does is get the product out the market it, talk to people about it, build a marketing strategy around that. And the course that we built at MBS Online actually covers all of this area. And today we'll be talking about pretty much just the start of the area, which is crafting the vision, strategy, and validation. Cool. So let's jump to this slide that talked about, okay, well, how do you find profitable products in the market? How do you do that? Well, you do that by first off understanding where you are in your product lifecycle. Because profit and commercializing product doesn't come from day one. Where the big money is actually come from this area when you hit growth and maturity. So when we talk about commercial impact, we're actually talking about the long-term strategy for your product, not the short-term goal. You're going to see, I'm sure you've seen in the news that, hey, this product launched and then it skyrocketed to $1 billion in overnight. Like those things hit the news because it's not common. The common way, what happens is that you have an idea, you build it, and you introduce it to the market, and you learn from it, and you slowly grow the product. And when the product gets into finds product market fit, when it hits maturity, that's when the big profit comes in. And then you can see this right now with the big products like Google, Facebook, Instagram, all the other SaaS products, technology product that you see, super profitable. And if you talk about physical products, look at products like Coca-Cola, Dyson, Mars bars, those things, when they were initially introduced to the market, probably not a lot of people were drinking Coke and using Dysons. But now it's become mainstream and is matured. That's where the big money comes from. And that's the first mindset you got to think about when you're creating, commercializing product. It's a long-term strategy. It's not this big bang event where you're going to make a lot of money for your product. And a product's role is very different depending on what type of company you're in. If you're in a single product company, your product is the company's strategy, because the only thing you can sell is one Coca-Cola product, right? But if you have a multi-product company, then your product strategy is not your company's strategy. Your product becomes one of the vehicles for you to drive revenue to hit those business goals. Like Coca-Cola, for example, you have Fanta, you have Sprite, and other types of products that drive revenue for the business. And product managers, depending on what type of organizations you're in, you'll be managing different strategies for either a single product company, single product strategy, or multi-product strategy with a portfolio of products. And that's what the product does. A product is a vehicle to make money for the business. This is a very important mindset to know, because I don't want to sound like a capitalist in any way, and this is not a political thing, but what happens in the real world is you have investors, right, that invest money into the courses that the company is doing. Could be a good course, could be a bad course, but you have investors either in the private market or the public market. They give you capital, and then the capital funds the company. The company solves problem by creating a product. And this product must be profitable enough to give back to the company, so the company can continuously invest into the product. And then when the company actually makes enough money, they can make a decision to say, hey, look, do we return some of the profits to our investors, or do we return some of the profits back into the product and the company to continuously grow it? So that's what a product does. It's a money-making machine. And if a product is not profitable, it's actually very hard to build a scalable business. And this is a good example here. When we talk about commercial impact, we're talking about these two terms that you see in the product world. One term is called the gross profit. The other term is called the net profit. Gross profit it's a term that basically it's the money that your product makes, excluding all the costs around like marketing and operation expenses and all the other things. It's basically how much you can actually build a mobile app for, and then how much money can you sell it for, and then the gross profit comes from there. Net profit is everything else after all the operational expenses. And this is very important to know because the industry that you play in plays a huge part in the profitability of your product. So for example, if you look at this here, this is Alphabet, previously known as Google. Google is in the search advertising industry. Their industry turns out roughly around 50% plus gross profit. And that's the standard. So when you build profitable products, the first mindset you got to think about is, what industry are you in? Are you in a profitable industry? Are you in a not profitable industry? So search advertising, about 50%. If you're working, say, like the retail industry, the retail is generally about, I'm talking about fast moving consumer goods, right? If you're selling a chocolate bar, so if you're actually an e-commerce store that sells chocolate bars, not the chocolate bar company, because they make a lot of profit. But if you're an e-commerce store, you probably make around, 5 to 10, 20% gross margin. So that's pretty much the cap of it. So the industry that you're in, it determines a lot on the profit that you make. So that's the first thing you got to keep in mind as you build profitable product. And why is this important? Is that if you have a look at Amazon, this is Amazon's gross profit and net losses. Interesting, right? What does that mean? So Amazon actually makes $54 billion of gross profit, which is actually more than Google, right? Interesting. How come Google extracts more profit than Amazon in terms of like net profits? Well, let's dive deeper. Right. So a very good example here is that Amazon is actually playing in two industries. The first industry that they're in is, as we all know, is the e-commerce industry, right? With low profit margin, as what I mentioned before. So they are in an unprofitable market. And actually 26% of the profit comes from just e-commerce. So it's not a lot. But majority of the profit actually come from Amazon Web Services, which is in the technical infrastructure or software as service, hardware as service, cloud infrastructure type of industry. And that industry makes very good profits, usually about 80% plus, but Amazon's about 74. So, software service, they make very good profit margin. So if you dive a little bit deeper, if Jeff Bezos have to reinvent Amazon again, he probably will focus on the more profitable segment rather than the e-commerce segment. But again, he wouldn't have built AWS without having Amazon in the first place. So where's the chicken and egg? Let's not debate around that. What I'm trying to say here is the industry plays a huge role in that profit margin for your product. And Apple is a good example. They know where the profitable segment is. The device profit, about $21 billion, 35% margin, which is very high in the hardware space. Most hardware makes about 20% profit margin. And the net profit is maintaining very high at 23%. Why is that? Is because Apple only focuses on profitable segments. Apple owns about 14% of the mobile device market. That's how much they own. And they let everyone else take the rest. They let like Huawei and Samsung and all the other places take the rest. But they make 62%, $96 billion of profit based on this 14% market share. So that's another lesson I've taken out throughout the years is that market share does not mean more profitability. Does not mean more revenue for your product, and more revenue does not mean more profitability for your product. So again, come back to this philosophy of being in a good market, a good industry that is profitable, is the foundation of creating profitable products and commercial products, commercializable products. And also, don't be afraid to let your competitors take the other products that is less profitable, and that's okay, because now Apple can outinvest all the competitors with all the innovations that they have, and they can outspend the competitors in terms of the marketing dollars that they have, and so on and so on. So yeah, so just to summarize, building a first step of building a highly commercializable product that is profitable is being in a good industry and also focusing on a segment that is very profitable for your business. Cool. So you might be thinking like, okay, cool. Well, that's a good theory, right? Like, sounds good, but like, how do you do this? This sounds easy, but like, how do you actually do this in real life? Well, here is a 5-step plan, a process that we will also teach you at MBS Online, and it's part of the modules. But this is the 5-step process that I also use in my day-to-day to figure out whether the product is worth investing or not. And let me just jump on this slide. So why is this important is because, again, if you're in a great market, a market with lots of great potential, the market pulls the product from you. That's what they do. They're in such high demand that the customers are always wanting your product. And I've learned this lesson when I was working at Linktree. So social media, it's a massive growing industry. And also there's a big rise in creator economy because of the different platforms that's available, like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, like all the rise of all the content creators. This is a massive market that is growing and is estimated to worth over 100 billion by the year 2027. So massive market. So, and Linktree just basically landed ourselves in there somehow. And we basically are now scrambling to build products to suit for that growing creator market. And as a result, Linktree, it's worth about 1.3 billion, and we're making really healthy profit margins for our products as well. So yeah, so when you're in a good market with lots of good potential, it will pull the product from you. So the first step of creating profitable products is actually understand the size of the market. But that's not it, right? You start with understanding the size of the market. Then, based on that market, you got to figure out, well, is it valuable? Just because the market is big, is it valuable? Like the Apple analogy, right? Just because there's a lot of people using mobile phones, not every market and not every segment within the mobile phone industry is profitable. So Apple started to focus on high-end devices like the iPhone per se. And even the iPhone SE is still a high-end standard edition for a product. So they are focused on the high-end part of the mobile industry. So understand the value of the market, not just the size. Step 3, obviously you need to solve a problem, right? Otherwise, people wouldn't buy your product. So step 3 of finding a profitable and commercially successful product is to figure out the deep user need. Step 4 is to understand the competition. How do you stack up across the market? And then step 5 is understanding regulatory landscape. And this is the thing that breaks and kills all product. A good example is that building a product in the crypto space. If you're building it in China, that's outlawed. You can't build any crypto products in China, so you go to jail. But if you build it in Australia, America, and most of the Western countries, yeah, that's where the next gold rush is. So regulatory landscape is a huge factor that would make or break your product. Cool. Let's dive deeper into each of these areas. So I'll go through step 1, step 2, 3, 4, 5 in much more detail. So step 1, understand the market. Understanding market size is, there's many frameworks that you can use. And what I found, this framework works really well. Some of you guys probably heard of this framework before, and if you haven't, that's okay. It's also in the course. I will talk about TAM, SAM, SOM, which talks about total addressable market, serviceable addressable market, and then also serviceable obtainable market. That's what TAM, SAM, SOM is. Sounds very fancy, but effectively it's just like, higher level market, zoom in a little bit deeper, and then zoom in a little bit deeper. That's basically it. Just sounds fancy, but that's what it is. TAM, SAM, SOM. So it talks about TAM is basically everyone in the market. SAM is what you can realistically capture in the medium term. That's what a SAM is. And SOM is like, what can you actually capture right now? And this is a very good framework to think about market sizing. Like just take Airbnb, for example. Right, Airbnb, the TAM the reason why Airbnb is such a profitable company is because the TAM, it's $1.5 trillion in a global travel market size. Mind you, I did this in 2021 where COVID was hitting. I'm sure post-COVID, this number is a lot higher. During COVID, it's probably a lot lower, but not too far from $1.5 trillion, to be honest, in the long run. So that's where the global travel market is. And then they hone in a little bit deeper. Travel market consists of things like like flights and rail and train and activities that you do in local, right? So there's a bunch of things that contributed to this $1.5 trillion market size. Then Airbnb started to focus on the most profitable segment, which is actually the accommodation market size. That's $800 billion out of the 1.5 trillion. So very, very, it's probably one of the biggest market size in the travel space. And then they hone in a little bit deeper and understand, well, out of the global accommodation market size, what do they focus on? Well, they want to focus on hotels, actually taking customers from the hotel industry and focus on the $601 billion market size. So yeah, so even if Airbnb takes 1% of the market, they are still a $6 billion company, which is they're a lot more than this now. So yeah, so that's basically why it's important to focus on a bigger market size. And again, but don't confuse market size of your product to the market size of your business. So that's a very important point to know. What does that mean? Well, that means, actually, let me show you this slide. This size will make more sense. So as you are building products for your company, there is going to be specific products and specific features that you start building from. And over time, you're going to iterate on that. You're going to grow the product to a bigger product. But where you start, you want to make sure that you're in a space that is not too big. Because if you're in a market that is too big, like, let's just take over all the hotels in the world, and that would have killed Airbnb because they would have created a Frankenstein product that covers for really random needs, like, hey, does this place have like a day spa, right, for Airbnb, right, or like a golf course, right? Like these are the things that hotels are solving, and if they want to solve that problem too, they would have built a Frankenstein product. So you don't want to focus on a market size that's too big, but you also don't want to focus on that's too small because you're going to run out of customers very quickly. So that's why that's why when Airbnb started, they had this idea of room sharing, where you put an air mattress on the floor and people can share a room. That market is too small, and they quickly turn that product into, you can actually hire a room, or you can also hire the entire apartment as well. So that's expanded the SOM a little bit, the serviceable obtainable market. So it can be too small, can be too big. You got to find something that has just enough customers and also has high enough value. And this sounds very vague, and I apologize for that, because this is different for every company. And the only way that you would know this is really through test and learn. There's no magic formula. You got to think of something, create an hypothesis, go out, test and learn. So that's basically understanding market size. The next thing is like, well, how can I, estimate this? How do I know if this size is big enough? Well, there are two approaches that you can take. You can have a look at Airbnb. You can estimate the market size by going top down, from what's the TAM here? Cool, 1.5 trillion. Let's go deeper on hotels, and then we can go deeper into global travel hotel activity market size, right? Or global accommodation hotel market size. This one's easy to see. Or you can go the other way around, right? How many hotels do we have? And then from how many hotels, how big is the accommodation market? And from there, you can figure out the bigger travel market size. And this is the formula for step 2. It's exactly the same thing. There's 2 ways to solve this problem, to estimate your market size. One way is you go top down. And the top-down method is very good, where you start with a big market and you work your way down. This is very good for like quick estimates, and especially for new concepts and new products. This method of estimating market size and then honing into the serviceable addressable market and then the product, it's a very good method for products that have new concepts. but obviously it's less accurate than the bottom-up method. And the bottom-up method is very good for accurate estimation because you have some data, some grounding to build on top of, but it's very hard and takes very time-consuming to gather the right data to build a model. So in my experience, I usually do a combination of both. You want to start with like maybe a very vague idea. You can start with like a top-down approach. Like if you're building the next Airbnb, but for say, bicycles, right? You can rent bicycles on the go, right? That's never been done before. Then you might want to actually do a top-down approach. So that's one way. Or actually, you might actually go the other way. Oh, well, what if we do like Airbnb for bicycles? Well, there's actually a lot of share bikes out there that's on the street. How much money are those companies making? So you can start from a bottom-up approach and understand how much money those companies are making. You can work your way up to the market size. So these are two mutually exclusive techniques that you can use. There's no right or wrong. It's about employing the right thinking at the right time. And as a great product manager, you've got to employ both to estimate your market size. So that's step 2, understanding the size of the market. And there are some tools that you can use as well for your market research. This method of doing research, it's not scientific. The fact that you guys are here in university, you'll be familiar with this first tool. It's the old friend, Google. It's just really just go out and just Google, online learning market size. And then you usually come up across a bunch of websites so you can just find data around. And if you have access to tools like IBIS World and a bunch of other sites that's within the university domain, use those tools as well. So Google. Second tool that I use that will help me predict the market size, it's search engine marketing tools. And these are very good tools for you to estimate what is the global volume of searches and how much money are people paying to actually acquire these customers. And from there, you can actually do a quick estimation of how much money is actually in the marketing space for search engines. And you can do an extrapolate of how profitable this market is. If people are spending a lot of money to acquire customers, you can tell that it's probably very profitable. If you're seeing a market that's not a lot of money being spent to acquire customers through search engine, then it's probably not so profitable as a product. So search engine tools, so SEMrush, Moz, Ahrefs, these are really good tools. And then another tool that you can use is you can look at your competitors that are listed in the company. So a lot of public companies have the information out in the market, like Uber. This is an example of Uber. So if you're building an Uber of anything, if you're building an Uber of anything, this is actually going to be a very good way for you to understand how big is the market size for the Uber of whatever that you're building. You can do this for a lot of listed companies too. And last thing is government websites as well. So have a look at government websites. They're a very, very good source of information. So Australia's got the ABS and another one called the IBIS World, which is very, very good. A lot of universities have this, and obviously Australian Bureau of Statistics, it's free. And if you're seeing this across the world, have a look at what's your government website like. Cool. And also, not to mention, have a look at what your competitors doing. Just go to the website and see how much they're charging for the product. That's going to give you some estimation, some indication of whether if this product is profitable or not. Cool. So that's basically market sizing, big enough market value. You have customers that is valuable. The next thing is, great. How do we solve a need, right, for that customer? Like, what do we sell to these valuable customers in a big enough market? And this comes back to this philosophy that I have about building great products is that innovation comes from a shift in customer behavior. Why? It's because customer problems, they don't change. Like the fact that you need to store data, that need does not change. It's really the technology that shifts and the customer behavior that shifts. So if you pair it right back into the reason why people buy your product is through a need. That is it. And it's really, if there is a shift in technology, for example, moving from floppy disks to cloud storage, every single one of these shifts have created valuable products. And you can say the same thing with communication. We need to communicate to another person, from fax machines to pages to now video conferencing and learning online. So every time there is a shift in customer behavior and a shift in technology, there is opportunities for you to create great product to solve a profitable problem in a big enough market. You can say the same thing about deliveries too. So now it's about drone delivery. Back in the days, we'll have someone to run around for you and actually do the runner. So yeah, customer problems don't change. It's really the technology and the behavior that shifts. So this comes back to this point around what are the different needs that users will have. When a user have a need, they're usually about 4 types of needs. And I talked about heartfelt problems. So these are your desire gains for your customer. So things that they want to desire as an emotional need. But besides that, there's also on the other one, which is the functional gains, the require gains, which I just got to, you've got to solve that delivery problem. If it's not, the package is not there, then you're not solving that require gains. But besides that, there's also unexpected gains. So these are your surprises and delight. And this usually come from the user experience of the customer. And then expected gains, which is things that you just, people just expect to happen. And, for example, if you're building a Uber for dog walking, you sort of expect that you can press a button and you can see all the dog walkers around you and you can pick the right dog walker, so people are not running away with your dog. So these are expected gains that needs to happen. So yeah, customers all have different types of needs. And the first thing that you should do when you are trying to quantify your need is you want to write them down. That is it, because we don't have infinite brain power. You want to write down your needs on your about this idea. So if you've got a grocery delivery app, write it down. Grocery delivery app for busy families and kids. Oh, by the way, this is a tool that we also, I jumped too quickly. This is a tool that we also share with you at the course. It's called the Value Proposition Canvas. And for those who's watching this, you can Google this. It's a very common tool that we use in the product space that lets you write your value props. So think of this as like elevator pitch or lean canvas or some sort of tool for you to write down your idea. I really like the value proposition canvas because it's easy, like just a few questions, and then we'll actually challenge you on things like what's your product do, what does it actually help people do, what's the outcome that you're trying to achieve, and what you don't want to do as well, and also unlike your competitors, these are the things. And once you've written that down, you can see all these pointers. You want to scrutinize your idea. You want to actually ask yourself, right? If you have a grocery delivery app, busy families with multiple kids, is that really a target market for you? Like, do people actually, sounds like, but what if I like to go on grocery shopping with my kids on the weekends? Excuse me. I like to go and grocery shopping with kids on the weekends, but is that the problem? So you actually want to write down all these things down and then validate it with the target market, with your customers, with using quantitative and qualitative data. So you want to write down your idea, scrutinize it, and then go out, get qualitative and quantitative data to help you validate this idea. And look, I'm not going to go through how do you get quantitative and qualitative. That's like another module in the course, like how do you do customer interviews, how to do surveys. But basically, you want to go there, do interviews, do surveys, do focus groups, do surveys for quantitative, qualitative. And once you have enough data, then you'll be able to actually really assess, like, is this a problem or not? And validating each one of these assumptions is going to be the key for you to first find a customer need. And the second thing is actually reduce the risk of failure for your product, because we all have great ideas. And this sounds great on paper, by the way, grocery delivery app. But look what happened to Milk Run, right? So it's all, that company is now sold to, I don't know, I think it was like Woolies or Coles, and they ran out of money very quickly. So yeah, so go validate it before you build it. And this brings me to step 4. Understand your competition. Got a big enough market. The market has a lot of valuable customers, and you found a need for that market, which is great. Let's look at how many people are solving this. because you don't want to be selling burgers in your company and you compete with McDonald's. Right, they're going to outburger you. So unless you're like a super niche burger chain, that's different story, but you will never beat McDonald's at making burgers. That's what they do. So have a look at the competition in your market before you build a profitable product, because the more competitors there are in the market, the more they would take a share of that market share and the less money that you will make. So you want to find a market that doesn't have a lot of direct competitors, competitors that have similar solutions and similar business model to you. You don't want that. You want to find a market that has substitute competitors, so things that is like not ideal but good enough. Or even better yet, people are using alternatives. People are finding other hacks around the product, and they're like, there's a need, but they're solving a very completely different solution to what you're thinking about for your product. And that's where the magic is. And to take a good example, like if you're creating a burger store, you don't want a gourmet burger store. You don't want to open your shop in a, next to a gourmet burger place, because they would just kill you. And even if they don't, you're going to compete on price and features, and it's like not a great way, and you're driving the profitability down. If you're building a gourmet burger store, you want to open right next to like a fast food chain like McDonald's, and you can have a chance of actually creating very specific niche products, but the market size is not big enough, right? So it makes you think about, should we even build a gourmet burger next to McDonald's, because they have a massive market size? Or even better yet, you want to build a burger store right next to a KFC. And that's why on the highways, you see KFC, McDonald's, KFC, McDonald's. That's how you can build profitable products. Cool. And a very good tool that you can use, it's called a feature analysis. It's basically listing out all the features of a product you can see here, and then just going through one by one and just assessing those features. And once you've done that, the last part is understanding the regulatory landscape. Because, many people try to, find big, bold things in the world. But a lot of the time is not so. A lot of the time they fail because it's not because they run out of money or they don't have the right technology. They fail because they don't get over the regulatory hurdles for the product. So this is a very good quote. Many people try to find big, bold things in the world, but it's not about the money and technology. It's about the regulatory hurdles that will try and stop you. And when you're building a profitable product, you actually want to work with the regulatory hurdles to your advantage. So don't look at it as an impediment. Look at it as an advantage. And Airbnb does that really, really well. So what they do is they actually, help the regulators understand who is checking into these hotels, these Airbnbs. So they've got a very good ID verification system, and they work with local regulators to identify hosts and also identify guests. They also have a very good way to work with cities. So every time Airbnb expands into a city, they got this thing that they work with cities called Airbnb city host agreements, and they work with the regulators to create agreements to, say, collect taxes for the local areas on behalf of the hosts. They also work with regulators to share data around to make sure that no criminals is checking into the Airbnbs and using Airbnbs for criminal activities. And they also work really good with the local regulators around addressing housing availability as well, because there's local hotels, smaller chains that's like, thinking about, these guys are competing with me. So Airbnb actually work with local cities to have rules to ensure that the duration of rental is not exceeding, it's not impacting housing availability within that city. For example, you can't turn a whole suburb to be Airbnb. There's only a subset of houses that you can use for Airbnb. And also educating about the local regulators to ensure that, home sharing best practices are adhered to. So working with the regulators like Airbnb have actually turned actually turned the hurdles into a strategic moat. And that's the thing that actually make Airbnb great. They make $8 billion in 2022. They have 7 million listings globally. They have 4 million hosts that made over $110 billion. And every host owns about 13K. So Airbnb it's great. And how do you find out your regulatory hurdles? This is the 5-step process. You probably know this already if you actually work inside a company, but I'm just listing out just so it's clear. So first step is you identify the regulatory, the relevant regulations. Second thing is you want to do some research. Third thing is you want to have a compliance checklist to make sure that all your product is compliant. Fourth thing is about developing compliance strategies. And last thing is just basically monitor and update. So these are the 5 steps to conduct regulatory research. And that is basically it. If you do these 5 things really well, you'll be able to create very highly profitable and highly commercializable product for your company. And by going through these steps. Step 1, understand the market size. Step 2, understand the value. Step 3, understand the need of the customer. Step 4 is understanding the competition. Step 5 is actually getting over the regulatory hurdles. And these are the 5 steps, and not every product makes it through these 5 steps, and that's okay. So that's what a product manager also do as well. If there is no need for this product, and if your product idea is not hitting on any of this, and if it fails on the value part, fails on the hurdle part, then bin it. Then go back into your idea backlog and bring up another idea. Sometimes you just might not have the right idea, but when you do, it's much easier to bin an idea that's not in market because you can just chucking a piece of paper away than it is to build something that is not profitable and not commercializable out in the market. And it's very hard to pull that back because you've got to tell all your customers that this product is dying. So it's not great. So don't be afraid to kill off product ideas that is not profitable and not commercializable. It's also a very important factor towards building a profitable and commercializable product. Cool. And that brings me to the end of this presentation. And I want to see if anyone got any questions as well.
Perfect. Thanks so much for that, David. That was super, super interesting. I'm sure everyone can agree as well. We do have a few questions here for you. We've got one here saying, this is such an interesting space. How does this course integrate or leverage future job roles in the PM space?
Yeah, I can share my perspective and feel free to jump in, Lockie, if you got a perspective from the course perspective, from the MBS side. From an industry perspective, because I've helped the MBS create this, what we're actually integrating is a very focus around technology products and SaaS products and digital products. And I think that's where the next wave of product management is going to be at, creating digital products that is highly profitable, highly scalable, all these things that just talked about. That's the next wave. But also we are teaching sort of like the mindsets as well. So it's not just like frameworks, but we also teach you the mindset of how you can scale across multiple types of products. And we also touch on physical products as well as technology products. So yeah, that's how you can actually leverage some of the skills.
Perfect. Awesome. And David, any books, case studies, online courses, blogs you would like to recommend for people with tech backgrounds? Example, experienced data scientist wishing to move to product managers?
Oh, yes. Where do I even start? If I don't have this background, I've got a whole bookshelf behind me. But the first book that I always recommend is like the Bible in the industry. It's called Inspired by Marty Kagan. And it's a very, very easy to read book. Every product person in the industry has read it. So Inspired by Marty Kagan is a very good book for you to start from. But a word of caution here is that every company does product management different. So you start with this book that will teach you one style of Kung Fu, but you don't want to stick to that style of Kung Fu. You want to read multiple books and build up your own skills over time. So start with Marty Kagan Inspired, but also use that as a baseline to read other books as well.
Awesome. And David, we've got another one saying, I have a background in marketing mid-career. What do the career transition pathways look like currently?
Good question. So marketing is so it's very, I love that question because product originally, like 10 years ago, actually more than that, like 15 years ago when I started this, products sit within the marketing function. There was a concept called the 4 Ps: product, place, price, and promotion. And product is part of marketing. So if you're in marketing, you have very good foundation that to actually think about this in the 4 Ps way. I think it's like 5 Ps now, depending on what framework but all the different Ps. So you have a very good background to do that already. To transition into product management, you have to learn the value part, which is not the 4 Ps, right? Or go deeper into the product, which is how do you do user research? How do you validate customer needs? And how do you actually work with development teams to launch the product? That's a skill set that you must learn and over time. But you've got a very strong background already in terms of like understanding the market size, understanding the value of that market. So all the stuff I just talked about, got very good strong foundation. You just have to learn the other skill sets to basically turn you into a mixed martial artist ninja.
Perfect. And David, would these strategy approaches work for any type of product, or are they specific to one sector?
So at a high level, good question as well. At a high level, this works for all types of products. Market size of the product, very important. Value, very important. All this stuff works at a high level. So this framework you can follow whether if you do physical or digital products. But there are some nitty-gritty stuff that you got to think about when you're building a physical product. It's the iteration, the time for you to figure out the need and iterate on that is much, much longer for physical products. And you have to do a lot of this upfront and build up a business case because, for you to change a physical product, it's very hard. For digital product, much easier. You can launch something and just iterate. So the framework is very much applicable across both physical and digital. It's just the iteration speed. It's going to be very different depending on physical and digital.
Love it. Good answer. And David, in a single product SME company, are there any differences between the product and business strategy where both of them could be aiming towards ramping up revenue? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, there is. So let me give you an example. So when I am in Linktree, when I was at Linktree, we are a single product company, that link and bio tool. So when we create a product strategy, we actually work with the founders to create the business strategy at the same time, because we're like, well, how much money do we need to make back for our investors in order for us to justify a valuation? So the founders will set a goal for us and we do our business planning and business strategies. And the founders would tell us like, here are the 4 key areas, the 4 boulders that we got to focus on, and we'll collectively build that together. That's the business strategy. And then we'll build a product to achieve those things together. So when you are in a single product company, that's what you should expect. It's tied directly to the business strategy, your product. When you're in a multi-product company, where I worked at say Qantas, while I was looking after Qantas Travel Money, which is one product out of like a plethora of products in Qantas. So that way, it was sort of disconnected from the business strategy. There is overall business strategy, but that product itself is it's just one of many. So it's you do create plans to hit those bigger Qantas revenue line, but it's very disconnected. What generally happens is that you will hit a functional line, like we're in the loyalty space in Qantas, so we hit the loyalty revenue rather than the whole Qantas corporate revenue, and the loyalty revenue goes back into the corporate revenue.
Perfect. Another question for you, David. Could you please elaborate on the stage gate process for NPD?
So stage gate process.
Stage gate process for MPD. Was that in the slide before, or?
Let me just have a look at that question. Sorry. Stage gate process for MPD. What's MP? Sorry. Maybe if you can give an example, elaborate that question a little bit, I'll come back to it. Sorry.
That's all good. And does the course cover each stage of the entire product life cycle?
Yes, it does. Yep, that's at the core of it. We cover a lot. Yep, absolutely.
Perfect. And is it based on tech/digital? Is it relevant enough for myself working in e-commerce?
Yeah, so I thought about this a lot. It's going to be applicable for everyone. So when you do the course, there are we would put together an assessment for you, and your assessment is to put together a product strategy for your product. You have three choices. One choice is like you pick an existing problem from the existing business and work on that. You build a strategy around that, so which is very applicable. Second one is you build a SaaS tool, and we use Canva as an example. And also we use a physical product. We use Qantas Loyalty as an example in that. So yeah, so it's a mix of everything. So you get a chance to try all, a physical and a digital product.
Perfect. And David, got a question here for you. Another one. I'm an insurance product manager where there is a limited understanding of segmentation and there is an overfocus on size of the market. Any suggestions for shifting that understanding?
Oh, good one. Insurance is probably one of the most profitable products that you can actually create. It's awesome. It's got like 91% margin. It's crazy. So that's why insurance companies are always thinking about the size of their market, because they know they are very profitable. So, and like shifting that thinking is going to be hard, because like this is the fundamental thing around building a profitable product. Unless you go to business and say, let's not focus on a profitable product just yet, it's very hard. But I guess the thing that I want to maybe share with you is that maybe understand what is the need that you're solving within that insurance space, and also what is everyone else doing as well, because insurance solves so many emotional problems that even if you're in a really, really big market, you can still solve a very specific need. So come back to that need, I would say, and work with the business to figure out that profitability of that need. Hopefully that's answered the question. But yeah, that's a really broad thing. But yeah, insurance, that's how they work. They always have big markets and they want to focus on a big need, because it's a super profitable product.
Perfect. And David, we've got an elaboration of the question before. Could you please elaborate on the stage gate process for new product development, MPD?
Oh, okay. Talking about this part, right? Cool, got it. Yep. So this is something that we would teach in the course as well. This is actually a screenshot from the course. This is the step, and there's a lot of key terms here. So every product go through this phase, which is idea, validate, and plan. You can see this blue here, and we call that the discovery phase. You discover a product, and then the product will go through design, develop, and launch, and that's the delivery part. And this is what a product manager usually do. And this is the unprofitable area here, and I call this monetizing to learn. You still want to charge money because that's part of your learning process, but you're not charging money to roll in cash at this point in time. So this whole area is about monetizing to learn about the product. And then you get to this part, which is growth, maturity, and decline, which once you found product market fit, you want to maintain the saturation. And this is basically monetizing to earn. This is where you earn a lot of money for your product. And that sounds very capitalism, but that's the reality of the world. So you earn a lot. And you can see this with like Google and all the other places. And eventually everyone goes to decline. Actually, Google is a good example, right? With now ChatGPT coming out, they're in this inflection point where they have to re-innovate so it can go up, or they face the impending doom of all product that goes through. So keep, kill, and reboot. So that's the MPD process.
Awesome. Thanks, David. And another one here. I work as an assistant manager and I would like to know, how can I change my current role to a product management role? And it says, thank you, David. You are the best, which I agree with.
Thank you. I would say, first off, a lot of the internal transfer is building relationships with people internally. And I'll share with you my first-hand experience of like finding people internally to work in my team. The first thing I think about is, can I trust this person to do the job? Because my job is now on the line if I hire you. If you do a bad job, I get fired. That's simple as that. So the first thing is, does this person have good values? Can I trust this person? All the things that you do as a fundamental, great employee of a company. That can I trust that? That's the first thing. The second thing is, does this person have ability or show ability to learn and come to do courses and self learn? Why? And it's because in the workplace, I'm super busy with my day-to-day. I actually don't have a lot of time teaching my direct reports, like the day-to-day of product management. That's why we send them to courses. And that's the reality. So the thing I think about is like, does this person take up the initiative and build up the skill sets themselves? And the third thing is like, does this person actually work hard and have some foundation that they can build upon? So things like a marketing background or sales background, and what you have with your background is perfect. So those are the things I think about when I promote someone internally or move someone to my team. So I would say build a relationship first and demonstrate those three things. If you do that well consistently over a period of time, then it's just really a matter of time before someone notices you.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, David. That's all the questions we have time for at the moment. And thank you all so much for joining. We hope you found the webinar an insightful preview to what you can learn from the Product Management Short course. The course is suitable for anyone who wants to transition to a product management or is currently a product professional seeking to upskill and future-proof your career. With a job growth rate of over 22% in the next 5 years, you'll be in high demand. Please visit the Product Management Short Course webpage to see all the benefits of the course. The link will now be posted in the chat. And the Product Management Short Course commences on Monday, the 17th of July. I encourage you to all enroll as soon as you can, just so you don't miss out. And if we didn't get to your question tonight, we'll endeavour to address them after the session. Thank you all so much and good night. And thanks, David.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming.